Vini the wonderful transmission with your host, Vini the wonderful.
Hello everybody, I'm back again, continuing to just going over some of the monsters and stuff that I was talking about, Hieronymus Bosch. And there is so many creatures, so many interesting designs and paintings that he made that I've been absolutely in love for such a long time. And the first one that I want to talk about, and I want to talk about two of them, but the first one is the white giraffe. Now, several years ago, I saw a website talking about the white giraffe, like for real, in real life. And it's just an animal that many people thought was mythical. In the same painting that Bosco painted, I'm going to call him Bosco because it's easier for me. In the same painting that he had a white giraffe, he also had a unicorn. And that made, I remember at the time reading, but I cannot find that website or forum anymore, people being hopeful that unicorns might also make a comeback. Because here's the thing, he painted a white giraffe with some black spots, which we'll come to see that white giraffes, as they actually exist, they are not albinos. They have a specific type of coloration that is called leucism, which makes them very white, but not quite as white as albino. And it's strange that he got that right, especially because we know his reference. We know that close to his atelier, to his studio, there was a printing house that had amongst its volumes a book called The Voyage, The Travels to Egypt by an Italian man called Ciriacus di Ancona. And in that book, there is an illustration of a giraffe, which is painted regularly, like yellow and brown. And that is quite assuredly the reference that Bosco used for the giraffe. Although he painted it white, and people just consider that to be a fanciful imagining, like unicorn, like some of his monsters. But it was very interesting that only in 2005 we've actually get a photography of a white giraffe. No one has ever photographed one before. Of course, no, before we didn't have photography. There were some rumored sightings of the white giraffe, but in 2005, for the first time got it in photo, and the photo is a bit grainy. I think it's like an aerial shot. And then in 2017, we've got the first video of the white giraffe. And National Geographic has the video on YouTube. I'm going to link in the description of this episode. And it was said that they were, and I quote, "They were so close and extremely calm and seemed not disturbed by our presence. The mother kept pacing back and forth a few yards in front of us while signaling the baby giraffe to hide behind the bushes. A characteristic of most wildlife mothers, in the wild to prevent the predation of their young. So quite healthy and happy and beautiful, almost mythological creature that actually exists, and we only got in video in 2020. Absolutely majestic. I mean, it's a creature that in the same painting we have Adam and Eve, the creation of Earth, unicorns, and a white giraffe, and to find out that at least the white giraffe is not only real, we can see it. It's fascinating because he used as reference a painting of a regular giraffe, but he had the foresight to make it quite accurately like a white one. So it raises some questions as to why he did that. But no, as I've mentioned before, most of what he does is quite mysterious in itself. However, I do not have further good news. In 2020, some poachers, they've killed those two giraffes. And I quote from a source that I will also link in the description. Rangers at a nature conservancy in Garissa County, Kenya, have discovered the skeletal remains of two rare white giraffes that went missing several months ago. So, unfortunately, those two majestic creatures, they were killed. I think there is one left in the world, and I hope it lives. I hope it gets to live a majestic life it so obviously deserves. But we have them in video, we have them in photo, we have them in painting since the late medieval, early Renaissance. So rest in peace, I guess, to that mother and baby giraffe. And the other creature that I want to talk about, which I have some substantial information, is the Gryllus, which is, of all monsters that occasionally inhabit the paintings of Bosch or of Bosco, that is one of the few that are sort of unique to him, but we have a name and some context. Of course, many others like the unicorn, the griffin, we know things from bestiaries that may not necessarily be so specifically related to Bosco. But if we look at this creature called Gryllus, we have some information. The way that they look is a human head, sometimes a monster or bird head, in the case of Bosco's painting, with two legs, just a head, probably a human head, and two legs. And that's it. That's the monster. Maybe wearing a cap, maybe carrying some stuff, but just a head and 2 feet. Apparently, the first written source that we have is Pliny the Elder. So that is the first source, and he's talking about a painter from Egypt that used to paint it. He used to paint that creature that later made its appearance, its debut in medieval bestiaries that probably were some source of inspiration of Bosco. However, there is a individual named Felipe de Guevara, and he wrote a book called Comentarios de la Pintura, which is in archaic Spanish, and I translated the part that talks about the Gryllus. So it is archaic Spanish, so pardon me if I got something wrong, but I think I did a reasonable job. And so the quote of the book is as follows. There was in the past another kind of painting they called Gryllus. Antipholus invented this name, painting a man whom jokingly he called Gryllus. Since then, this kind of painting have been called Gryllus. Antipholus was born in Egypt and learned this type of painting from Taciturno. That to me seems similar to the ones made by the celebrity of our times Hieronymus Bosch, or Bosco, how we call him. And so the book goes on to analyze Bosco's painting of Bosch. And it's important to know that the term Gryllus was used firstly, and even the idea that is a kind of joke name that was given by the painter. It's not like a serious name for the monster, for the creature, like Griffin is, or unicorn. So it is a joke name. And it was Pliny the Elder who put that source to paper, as they say. So that name Gryllus also in the text originally is written Grillo in Spanish, and Italian Grillo, in Portuguese Grillo. It all means cricket. Even Gryllus is Latin for cricket. So the idea is that monster looks like a cricket, or is it a reference to Greek mythology? Apparently there was an individual called Gryllus in the book called Moralia, in which he faces Circe, and he preferred to be transformed as a pig rather than come back to a human form. I haven't read that book, and I'm not too sure that Gryllus, as in this type of painting, is connected to that mythology. It is worthwhile to note, but Gryllus also means cricket, so there is that amount of information. But the sources that we know that connects to Bosco is that Comentarios de la Pintura book. So that's all there is to know about his monstrosities and demons. There are very interesting readings on meaning. I, for one, go with the aesthetics of it all. I think his illustrations and monsters are so cool, and all of that esoteric meaning. I love that stuff, but it's very personal reading. It's not an academic definite. And that is it, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I will be leaving in the description of the episode a couple of links with the news that I've mentioned about the giraffes, and a video by National Geographic YouTube channel where you can see the mama giraffe and the baby giraffe. God rest their souls. And if you've seen this episode on YouTube, there's a little bit of images illustrating this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I see you, friends, next time.